Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 6.
Just hours after a Grand Forks woman gave birth to her son, she found out she had COVID-19 and had to be put on a ventilator due to low oxygen levels. Valley News Team's Bailey Hurley spoke with those who are rallying around the new family of 4. It's a story you'll only see here on Valley News Live.
Just hours into his first day of life, 6-pound, 13-ounce Thompson John would not only be isolated from his mom, Brittany, due to a positive COVID-19 test, but his dad and toddler sister, Sutton, were also positive, leaving the child's grandparents to step in for his first weeks in the world.
The thought of having to leave the hospital without your wife, after having a baby, to me, there's no worse kind of situation.
Smaby says less than 24 hours after giving birth, Brittany's COVID symptoms started taking over her body.
It kind of just started to progress pretty rapidly, where they had to actually move her into intensive care. And then it just kind of spiraled down, where they ended up putting her on a ventilator.
The good news, Brittany has since come off the ventilator.
Her oxygen levels have increased. She actually wants to get up and move around and have some water. It's trending in a good, hopeful direction.
But family and friends say she still has a long road ahead. Smaby says she and her coworkers have since organized a gift drive for the King family.
Just to try to bring a little bit of light and happiness through something that's so terrible.
Asking for clothes, toys, or monetary donations for a family who may not be out of the woods by the end of the month. In Grand Forks, Bailey Hurley, Valley News Live.
Gifts will be collected for the King family until December 21st. Details on the family's gift drive are on our website, Valley News Live's news app. Just click on this story. Our continuing weather sure makes getting over Hump Day a little easier. Still no snow to cause any hassles, and the temps are nice, all things considered. Let's find out from Hutch Johnson what's expected tonight. Hutch?
Mike, thanks so much. We had a lot of cloud cover here in Fargo and points east throughout the day. Those clouds are finally shifting off into central Minnesota and points east. And those clouds did have an impact on temperatures today. Here's a look at those highs we achieved and where those clouds were lingering. We were only near 30 degrees, Detroit Lakes, Bemidji, and Badette. But out to the west, Grand Forks, Grafton, all the way out to Jamestown, saw low 40s today. Beautiful conditions. For this evening, here's what you need to know if you're heading outdoors. It's going to be clear with a breeze from the west at around 10 to 15 miles per hour, mid-20s by bedtime tonight. And Grand Forks, similarly, clear skies and temperatures dipping into the mid-20s. We have some warm weather to talk about with the skies clearing out. It also means, Mike, more sunshine. All details on how warm that means will be for your Thursday and beyond here in a minute.
We're talking about December, right?
Last I checked, yes.
Okay, that's great. Thanks. Minnesota's Governor Tim Walz is considering a reduction in the time a person with COVID needs to quarantine. The governor highlighted how the pandemic has impacted public safety and first responders' ability to respond to emergencies. The governor is saying that the first responders will be among the first to get vaccinated, but not the very first. He's discussing the possibility of reducing quarantine time from 14 to 7 days, which could lead to a higher level of compliance. According to the Johns Hopkins University, Minnesota ranks 4th nationwide for new cases per capita in the past 2 weeks. 1 in every 133 people in Minnesota tested positive for COVID-19 in the last 7 days. Minnesota U.S. Senator Tina Smith says every American should be able to get coronavirus treatment and vaccination free of charge. The senator wrote the COVID-19 Treatment Coverage Act to guarantee that in early August. So far, it's not gained momentum on Capitol Hill, but with just weeks left in this session, the senator remains confident Congress and the president will sign off.
Here's why. I think it's just common sense that we need to make sure that no matter who you are or where you live or what kind of insurance you have, that you have access to a vaccine. This is good for you and your family, and it's also good for everybody else.
In an interview with our D.C. team, the senator threw her support behind a bipartisan framework for another round of relief to help the country cope with the pandemic's financial fallout. Negotiations between Republican and Democratic leaders have been stalled for months, with more than $1.5 trillion separating their competing plans. A bus driver and passenger were treated for minor injuries this afternoon following a crash. The school bus ran into a tree at 45th Street and Amber Valley Parkway. The passenger was not a student. Moorhead officials say that the fire that happened late last night, was fueled by a Christmas tree. As you can see, flames made their way through a large part of that home. The fire was traced to a faulty electrical cord connected to tree lights, which were left on. Experts are now warning you about the dangers of fire this time of year.
Any candles you have in the home or any open flames for decoration, you want to make sure there's at least a foot of clearance between the candle and any combustible products, a foot or more.
Fire officials are also reminding you to shut the lights off when you go to bed or leave the house, and that we should also have this conversation sooner rather than later. For the latest on this story, download our VNL News app. We have more information for you on that attack involving an axe and a baseball bat. Authorities say it began after the victim was thrown out of a friend's home. 4 people were later arrested. It happened Monday afternoon at 809 10th Street South in Fargo. That's just off south of St. Anthony's Church. Officers found the victim bleeding and uncooperative. Investigators say after the victim was thrown out, he broke a window and punched one of the accused in the face. That's when the fight started. Police believe one of those 4, Valine Blueshield, used the axe. The victim's wounds were described as being non-life-threatening. Authorities say a 21-year-old suspect argued with a man before killing him outside his home in Beltrami County. Authorities say Montana Cutbank shot the victim Tuesday night. They say Cutbank went to the victim's home, started an argument, then shot the victim in the head with a sawed-off shotgun. Cutbank was arrested this past weekend. New crime data shows an increase in what Fargo police are calling preventable crimes during November. There were a total of 133 burglaries in the city last month, most in and around the downtown area.
The primary factor that we saw was apartment complexes, which lead to the garage burglaries, where individuals are breaking into one garage and then they're gaining access to multiple other ones, or they're crossing wires in the keypads.
Police remind you to take valuables out of your car even if they're locked in the garage, and say it's important to talk with property managers about further securing your garages and underground parking if at all possible. 2 protests have been scheduled after a racist Snapchat group, including students from NDSU, was publicly exposed on social media this week. It prompted dozens to demand action and change on campus, with several reaching out to our whistleblower hotline. The protests will be Friday and Saturday at 2 p.m. Fridays will start at Memorial Union. It's going to end at President Dean Bershani's house. The one on Saturday will be at the university president's home. Later on Valley News Live at 6, talk about being a lucky dog. Local rescue crews come to the aid of this stranded pooch.
Weather-wise, things very quiet. We started the day with clear skies this morning. Our time-lapse shows, though, a deck of clouds settled in for the better part of your afternoon. We'll have details on how warm we get in a warming trend coming up right after this.